Human blood boiled across the galaxy as the Ladosians mocked our race before the Galactic Council. But little did they know our stealth fleet had just decloaked to make them pay. On the bridge of his flagship ISS Retribution, grizzled human Admiral Jesse Walker clenched his fists until his fingernails dug into his palms. He stared daggers at the live feed from the Galactic Council chambers, jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. That traitor Laros, the Ladosian ambassador, stood at the podium spewing filth. Humanity and their primitive technology have no place among enlightened galactic species, Laros declared. They are little more than barbaric savages, unfit to spread their violent ways to the stars. The assembled alien representatives erupted into mocking laughter and applause. Jesse's bridge crew shot him concerned glances as the Admiral's face reddened with barely contained rage. For years now, the Ladosians had betrayed their former human allies at every turn, sabotaging Earth colonies, assassinating diplomats and slandering mankind's name across hundreds of worlds. The Galactic Council ate up every poisoned word. But they didn't know humanity's true strength, didn't know about the stealth fleet Jesse had spent decades assembling in secret, packed to the airlock doors with advanced human weapons the galaxy had never seen. It was time to give the alien scum a rude awakening. As Laros continued his tirade, Jesse turned to his hand-picked bridge officers with an ice-cold stare. "Fleet decloak on my mark. Let's see how the Council reacts to a few hundred human warships on their doorstep." Jesse felt the eyes of every crew member boring into him. They all knew the stakes. The Alien Council would never let such an armed human force live. It was victory or death now. All of Earth depended on the next few minutes. Trillions of human lives hung in the balance. Decloaked 3 du once. The human stealth fleet shimmered into existence on the Council's sensors, and alarms blared through the chamber. Jesse watched Laros choke on his words, eyes bulging as he realized his fatal mistake. The Ladosians had spit on humanity for the last time. There would be no mercy now, no quarter given. This was humanity's day of reckoning. "All ships," Jesse said quietly. "Battle stations." Jesse looked on as bright lances of plasma streaked out from his cloaked fighters, striking the bulky Ladosian flagship with pinpoint accuracy. The alien vessel's shields sputtered and winked out under the withering assault. Weapon emplacements exploded along its hull, and plasma fires billowed from gaping holes torn through armor and bulkheads. In mere minutes, the flagship was a crippled hulk, drifting powerless. Jesse nodded in grim satisfaction. Laros's face contorted with unbridled rage as he screamed orders to his fleet. "All ships, target the human flagship. Blast it from the stars. Exterminate these worthless apes." A storm of ruby beams converged on the ISS Retribution, pounding against its advanced energy barriers in a fierce onslaught. The human ship shuddered under the barrage, but its powerful defensive systems held firm, absorbing the brunt of the attack. Jesse checked the shield readouts. Divert auxiliary power to forward emitters, counter battery fire, full spread. As the Retribution's shields weathered the storm, a dozen armored figures materialized in flashes of light across the Council Station's key decks. Leading the charge, Commander Trent, Maverick Reese, and his elite commandos swiftly secured the communications hub, silencing any distress calls. They swept through corridors with cold efficiency, gunning down Ladosian guards and sealing bulkheads to trap pockets of resistance. Maverick burst into the Council chambers, rifle raised. Laros spun to face him, eyes blazing with hatred. The Ladosian ambassador drew an ornate curved blade, its edge shimmering with deadly energy. "How you dare sully this sacred place with your presence, human filth?" Laros snarled. "I will carve out your heart and crush your pitiful species beneath my heel." Maverick smiled coldly. "Bring it on, split-chin." The two warriors clashed in a whirlwind of strikes, parries, and counterattacks. Laros was fast, his blade weaving a dizzying pattern as he pressed the offensive. But Maverick was faster. His gene-enhanced reflexes and strength, coupled with a lifetime of training, allowed him to match the aliens in human speed and power. As they dueled across the chamber, A priority message blinked on Jesse's command console. He opened the link and his blood ran cold. An ensign's pale face filled the screen, her voice trembling. "Admiral, long-range sensors have detected a massive Ledosian fleet entering the Sol system. They're on a direct course for Earth, ETA 30 minutes. Jesse felt his world tilt on its axis. The attack on the Council had been a ruse, a ploy to draw Earth's defenders away from their home. Even if they destroyed the Council and the ships here, it would all be for nothing if humanity's cradle fell. He gripped the edges of the console, knuckles white, the weight of trillions of lives pressed down on his shoulders. In that moment, he knew what he had to do. "Recall all ground teams," Jesse ordered, his voice hard as steel. "We're withdrawing immediately. Set course for Earth, maximum burn." His crew stared at him in shock. They had the Council at their mercy, victory within their grasp. To leave now would be to abandon everything they'd fought for. But Jesse's gaze was unwavering. "The survival of our species is all that matters. We'll make our stand at Earth together. This isn't over." As the Retribution and its fleet vanished into warp, racing desperately to reach humanity's besieged homeworld, Jesse could only pray they would be fast enough. The battle for the Council was lost, but the war for Earth had only just begun. Jesse clenched his jaw as he surveyed the tactical display. The Ledosian invasion force was hurtling towards Earth, and time was running out. He turned to Captain Olivia Artemis Prescott, his second-in-command and most trusted officer. "Artemis, I need you to take half the fleet and get back to Earth. You're the only one I trust to lead the defense." Artemis nodded, her eyes hard with determination. "I won't let you down, Admiral. We'll make those Ledosian bastards pay for every inch of Earth's soil." As Artemis prepared her ships for the jump to Sol, Jesse turned his attention to the uneasy alliance forming in the Council chambers. Many of the alien diplomats were still reeling from the revelation of Ledosian manipulation, their trust shattered. Maverick leaned in close. "We need to give them a reason to fight with us, something to show we're all in this together." Jesse nodded. "Agreed. We'll offer to share our stealth tech with any race that stands with us against the Ledosians. That should sweeten the pot." As Jesse and Maverick worked the room, a tall Arcturian with piercing silver eyes approached them. He introduced himself as Zoran, a respected diplomat among his people. "Admiral Walker, I believe I can help sway the Council to your cause. The Ledosians have wronged us all, and it's time they answered for their crimes." Zoran strode to the center of the chamber, his voice ringing with righteous anger as he laid bare the Ledosians' centuries of deceit. He spoke of bribes and blackmail, of assassinations and puppet regimes. The other diplomats listened in growing horror, their outrage building with every revelation. By the time Zoran finished, the Council was in an uproar. One by one, the alien representatives pledged their support to humanity's cause, united at last against a common enemy. Back on Earth, Artemis wasted no time putting her plan into action. She led a strike team in a lightning raid on a Ledosian supply depot, seizing a shipment of powerful EMP devices. With these new weapons in hand, she began preparations for the coming invasion, determined to make the enemy pay dearly for every inch of ground. As the Allied fleet marshaled its strength, an urgent message came through from the Council station. Laros had escaped custody, hijacking a ship and fleeing to the Ledosian invasion force. Worse still, he had assumed command of the entire fleet, vowing to crush humanity beneath his heel. Jesse slammed his fist against the console, his eyes blazing with fury. He knew that Laros would stop at nothing to see Earth burn, and that only one thing could end this war, a direct confrontation between the two bitter enemies. Gathering his most skilled warriors, including Maverick and Zoran, Jesse prepared to infiltrate the Ledosian flagship and bring Laros to justice once and for all. The fate of Earth and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. As the strike team boarded a stealth shuttle and set course for the enemy fleet, Jesse couldn't shake the feeling that everything he'd fought for had led him to this moment. One way or another, the war would end today, and humanity's place among the stars would be decided in blood and fire. The matte black hull of Jesse's stealth shuttle glided through the void, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it all but invisible against the starry backdrop. Inside the cramped confines of the ship, Jesse pored over real-time tactical data, streaming in from the Allied fleet. Suddenly, a priority transmission from the ISS Retribution flashed across his display. "Admiral, we've got a situation," Artemis reported, her voice crackling with static. "The EMP strike was successful, but we've been boarded by Ledosian Shadow Guard. They're wreaking havoc on the lower decks. We're holding them back for now, but we need reinforcements." Jesse cursed under his breath. The Shadow Guard were Laros's personal enforcers, fanatically loyal and highly trained. If they took control of the Retribution, the entire Allied fleet would be at risk. But he couldn't abandon his mission to confront Laros. The fate of the war hung in the balance. Zoran, sensing Jesse's inner turmoil, stepped forward. "Admiral, let me take a team to assist Captain Prescott. You and Commander Reese must press on to the flagship." Jesse hesitated, torn between his duty to his crew and his burning desire to bring Laros to justice, but he knew Zoran was right. He nodded curtly. "Go. Keep my ship intact, Zoran. And watch your back." As Zoran and his hand-picked warriors peeled off towards the Retribution, Jesse turned to Maverick. "Looks like it's just you and me, old friend. Let's finish this." The shuttle shuddered as it docked with the Ledosian flagship, its stealth field flickering momentarily. Jesse and Maverick emerged into a dimly lit hangar bay, weapons at the ready. The deck was eerily silent, save for the distant thrum of the ship's engines. They moved swiftly through the corridors, dispatching Ledosian soldiers with ruthless efficiency. The ship's interior was a maze of twisting passageways and armored bulkheads, but Jesse's suit computer guided them unerringly towards the bridge. As they neared their target, a bone-chilling laugh echoed through the halls. "Welcome aboard, Admiral Walker," Laros's voice taunted over the intercom. "I've been waiting for this moment." Jesse and Maverick burst onto the bridge, plasma rifles blazing. Laros stood at the center of the chaos, his ornate armor glinting in the harsh light. He deflected their shots with a shimmering energy shield, his face twisted in a grotesque smile. "You have no idea how long I've dreamed of this, Walker," Laros spat. "How many years I've spent plotting your downfall." Jesse circled his nemesis warily, looking for an opening. "What the hell are you talking about, Laros?" The Ledosian's eyes flashed with manic rage. "You don't remember? The diplomatic mission to Arcturus IV, where you murdered my brother in cold blood." A wave of realization crashed over Jesse. The botched negotiations, the firefight in the council chambers. He had killed Laros's brother, but it was in self-defense. The Ledosian delegation had turned on them without warning. "Your brother gave me no choice," Jesse said evenly. "He betrayed us." Laros screamed in wordless fury, launching himself at Jesse with blinding speed. The two warriors clashed in a whirlwind of strikes and counterstrikes, energy blades sparking against nano-reinforced armor. The deck bucked beneath their feet as a series of explosions tore through the ship. Zoran's voice crackled over the comm. "Admiral, we've taken out the engines, but we're pinned down. We can't hold out much longer." Maverick glanced at Jesse, a wordless understanding passing between them. With a fierce battle cry, he charged at Laros, drawing the Ledosian's attention away from Jesse. The two titans grappled, trading bone-crushing blows. Suddenly, Maverick wrenched a plasma grenade from his belt and slammed it into Laros's chest plate. The explosion ripped through the bridge, consuming Maverick and Laros in a blinding flash of light. The deck gave way beneath them, and they plummeted into the depths of the ship, locked in a final deadly embrace. Jesse staggered to his feet, his ears ringing, his heart heavy with the loss of his friend. But there was no time to grieve. The Ledosian fleet was in disarray, but they still posed a threat. He opened a channel to the Allied ships. "This is Admiral Walker. The Ledosian flagship is crippled. Laros is down. All ships press the attack. Let's end this once and for all." As the Ledosian fleet reeled from the loss of their flagship, Jesse hammered his console, barking orders to the Allied ships. All vessels, converge on the enemy. Hit them with everything you've got. A chorus of affirmatives rang out as the Allies surged forward, lances of plasma and missiles streaking through the void. Ledosian ships crumpled and burst under the onslaught, their hulls shattering into fiery debris. On the bridge of the ISS Retribution, Artemis gritted her teeth as another blast rocked the ship. Shields at 30%. We can't take much more of this. But still she fought on, her crew pouring fire into the enemy ranks with grim determination. The once pristine bridge was a shambles of sparking consoles and acrid smoke, but the humans held their ground. Suddenly a battered escape pod burst from the wreckage of the Ledosian flagship. Its hull was scorched and dented, but the occupant was very much alive. Laros, his face a mask of blood and rage, snarled as he punched in a new trajectory. "This isn't over, Walker," he spat, his fingers flying over the controls. "Not by a long shot." With a final defiant roar, Laros launched a salvo of missiles directly at the Retribution. The projectiles slammed into the human ship, ripping through its weakened shields like tissue paper. Explosions blossomed along its length, venting atmosphere and bodies into the void. On the bridge, Artemis barely had time to scream before a massive blast consumed her, reducing her to ash in an instant. All around her, crew members perished in the flames, their lives snuffed out in a heartbeat. Jesse watched in horror as the Retribution listed, its engines flickering and dying. Rage and grief surged through him, a white-hot fury that threatened to consume him. Artemis, his friend, his right hand, gone, just like that. With a wordless howl of anger, Jesse wrenched his ship around and rocketed after Laros. The Ledosian's escape pod darted and weaved through the battlefield, its engines flaring as it sought to evade pursuit. But Jesse was relentless, his eyes locked on his prey. He pushed his ship to the limit, ignoring the screech of overstressed metal and the blaring of warning klaxons. All that mattered was vengeance. The two craft danced a deadly ballet through the wreckage, plasma bolts and missiles crisscrossing the void. Jesse juked and rolled, his hands flying over the controls as he struggled to line up a clean shot. Laros was a skilled pilot, but his ship was damaged, its movements sluggish and erratic. With a final burst of speed, Jesse closed the gap, his weapons locking onto the escape pod's heat signature. But before he could fire, Laros wrenched his ship around in a suicidal charge, hurtling straight for Jesse's vessel. The alien's face filled the comm screen, twisted in a rictus of hatred. "Die, human!" Laros screamed as he rammed his ship into Jesse's, the impact sending both vessels careening out of control. Alarms shrieked and sparks flew as Jesse fought to regain control, but it was no use. His ship was badly damaged, its systems failing one by one. With a heavy heart, he opened a fleet-wide channel. "All hands abandon ship. I repeat, all hands abandon ship. Get to the escape pods now." As his crew scrambled to evacuate, Jesse inputted a new course, his jaw set with grim determination. If this was to be his end, he would make it count. Locking his ship's navigation on a collision course with the heart of the remaining Ledosian fleet, Jesse sealed himself in the bridge, his eyes fixed on the growing swarm of enemy vessels ahead. Laros, his escape pod fused to the human ship's hull, clawed his way onto the bridge, his eyes wild with madness. Jesse met him head-on, and the two warriors clashed in a brutal hand-to-hand battle, trading blows with savage fury. As the ships hurtled towards their final destiny, Jesse and Laros grappled, their blood mingling on the deck plates. With a final Herculean effort, Jesse wrapped his hands around the alien's throat and squeezed, pouring all his rage and pain into one last, desperate act. Laros thrashed and bucked, but Jesse held on even as the life drained from his foe's eyes. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the ISS Retribution slammed into the Ledosian fleet, detonating in a cataclysmic explosion that lit up the stars. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.